So, what's your name, my brother?
My name is Brother Chris Sweeting. I'm president of Miami Gardens, but I'm a member of the Circle of Brotherhood, executive member, board member. I just want to say excited to have Brother Umar here to visit with us here in Miami. Thank you for coming back. I'm also a private school owner as well, so I hope I can learn some things from him. So not to hold you guys up, I hope you enjoy the event. And again, my name is Brother Chris Sweeting.
Thank you for having us, brother.
Yes, sir.
If the schools were not broken, the jails would be. The reason that jails are so successful, overflowing with black bodies, is because the schools are broken. And so in my work as a school psychologist and as a school principal, I have learned that America has 6 stages that she likes to take people through. There's some seats up here in the front. There's 6 stages that America likes to take her black boys through. Let's talk about these 6 stages of death, what I call the psychoacademic holocaust. Stage 1, miseducation. Stage 2, special education. Stage 3, psychiatric medication. Stage 4, psychological and emotional frustration. Stage 5, juvenile incarceration. Stage 6, premature extermination. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to say some things you probably never heard from a psychologist in your life, black or white. And you may never hear again, but I hope you remember what I said. First of all, when I come back to Miami, I don't ever want to see anyone in my audience without a pen and a pad. Because what I say, people will need. There's a lot of people in the black conscious movement. There's a lot of wokeism, but a lot of that doesn't translate automatically into usable information. My information is usable and extremely practical. So let's start with stage 1, miseducation. First of all, Black Miami, I want to be clear. I'm talking to my Haitian Africans, I'm talking to my Cuban Africans, I'm talking to my American Africans, my Caribbean Africans, because Miami is a very diverse city for us as African people. We got a little bit of everything here. Problem is we do too much tribalism in Miami, that's why we can't get nothing done. Because everybody's repping their tribe, and repping their nation, and repping their flag, and repping their nationality, and the white man running off with everything because we refuse to work together. The most honorable Marcus Garvey called it petty differences. A city as diverse as Miami for African people should be a modern Black Wall Street for African people. If it's any city in America where we should own the supermarket, the hospital, the bank, and the school, it should be Miami. Because you got Caribbean connections all through Miami. You got South American African connections. You got Central American African connections. You got continental African connections in Miami. So with all that networking that can take place in a city as diverse for Black people as Miami, why we wouldn't have it? I'll tell you why. The same reason we ain't got it in Philly, Brooklyn, Houston, LA, Milwaukee, Chicago, or Detroit, until the Negro hates racism more than one another. Until we hate racism more than one another, nothing will change. See, the psychological surgery that European culture performed on African people during the Ma'afa, during colonization, during neo-colonization, has made you hate each other more than the person doing the oppressing. You will forgive a white person 1,000,000 times and a Negro not one. You will forgive a Chinese 1,000,000 times and a Negro not one. Miseducation. Let me be clear. The public schools in Miami can't work. The charter schools in Miami can't work. The Catholic schools, the parochial schools, the independent schools, the private schools, they must be designed to fail. And why do they make sure Miami schools fail? Why do they make sure Fort Lauderdale schools fail? Orlando, Tampa, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, the entire public and charter school system of Florida is designed to make sure the schools fail. Why? Why must public school fail black kids in Florida? One simple answer, don't you ever forget it, to guarantee the white privilege of the European boys. Hello? If you don't get this, you get nothing. School must fail in the black neighborhood to protect the political and economic opportunity of the whites. This is why I get upset when I hear people say, we can fix the school if we pay the teachers more money. We can fix the school if we just build some new ones. We can fix the school if we got new textbooks. We can fix the school if we put more science and STEM technology. You can pay every white teacher in Miami $100,000 a year, your kids still won't learn. And I'm gonna tell you number one reason why the white woman cannot teach your child, because you got to love a child in order to teach you. I'm gonna say it again. I don't care if she got a doctorate from Harvard. I don't care if she got her third master's from Florida State. Come on in, family, there's empty seats up there. I don't care if she was national teacher of the year last year or Florida educator of 2020. It don't matter. In order to teach an African child, you gotta love them first. And you know what's interesting? When they talk about education in Florida, they never talk about the classroom racism. See, every problem that you have with black boys and girls in Florida schools is conducted through the person at the front. Now, some of you are going to say, wait a minute, Dr.Umar, we got a lot of black teachers down here. Okay, but they have a European consciousness. You understand? So that's the remote control you run. And I'm going to submit to you that you better be more concerned about the fake woke black principles you need than the white ones. Because I can tell you, most of my fighting for our children has not been with the white educators. It's the coon. And the word coon is an acronym, COON. It means the consciousness of the oppressor operating in the Negro. See, y'all too easy. You walk into one of these schools in Miami and you see a black principal and he got a dashiki on and a green smoothie and a Malcolm X poster and burning some frankincense. You automatically assume he woke. No, that's not true. And I want you to know that the woke principal will special educate your child faster than the sleep. I'm telling you, white folks don't even fight me, they just let me do what I need to do. That's not letting it out. I gotta argue with the big roads. That's why we opened up the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy campus #1, because we need a Miami campus. So y'all can do some schools for sale. We need a Orlando campus, we need a Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood campus, we need a Tampa and Tallahassee campus. So I hope y'all keep your eyes open for school. But brothers and sisters, let us understand this. The failure of black children is not only a racial problem, it's an economic one. Because every problem America gives to African people, and everybody in here, you African. Every problem they give to us, they exploit it. Yeah. So you gotta look at education from the racism of the white kids. And you gotta look at racism or education from the capitalism, the billions of dollars they make off of pushing Ritalin and Adderall, in concern, in meditate, and Cyclone, and Risperdal, and Prozac, and Paxil. You Negroes are out of your mind giving your children crack so they can sit still long enough to learn about Christopher Columbus. Why do I need drugs for that? Why do I gotta be high to learn about Helen Keller and Anne Frank? What is so mesmerizing about Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton and George Washington that I need drugs in order to learn about? But they convince black parents in Florida that your son needs medication to get an education. And I'm here to tell you today, your son don't ever need no medication to get no education. So Dr. Umar, are you totally against psychiatric meds? Not totally. I will accept psychiatric meds for a child if they are homicidal, suicidal, or psychotic. Homicidal? You want to hurt somebody else? I'd rather him suffer the side effects of the drug than take a life. Suicidal? I'd rather he take his own, I'd rather he suffer the effects of the meds instead of taking his own life. Psychotic? If he's seeing things and hearing things telling him to hurt and stab and shoot, by all means, give him the medicine. The lesser consequence we got for something. But telling me your son needs crack so he can sit still to be miseducated in Miami, I got a problem with it. I got a problem with it. And you parents have been conditioned to believe that when we psychologists give your children labels, they're actually problem process. I'm here to tell you right now. The label makes the problem bigger, not better. Let me say it again. Label child with reading disability makes the problem bigger, not better. Label child ADHD and concept disorder and oppositional defiant disorder makes the problem bigger, not better. Let somebody tell you your baby is emotionally disturbed or intellectually able doesn't solve a problem. It makes it permanent. Most kids aren't special ed for you know that. There's certain disabilities and special ed. There's certain disabilities that we bow the way under the federal umbrella of special ed services: autism, deafness, blindness, brain injury, orthopedic impairment, developmental delay, intellectual disability, other health impairment, kids who are both deaf and blind, the speech and language impairment. There's 13 of them, but guess which one is always the most classified in Black America? The reading disability. The reading disability. I was related to a great Black man by the name of Frederick Douglass, who taught himself how to read 200 years ago, under the threat of death or permanent incarceration. So, if we come from a legacy of ancestors who taught themselves how to read with no special ed, no public school, no IEP, no learning disability, why in the hell does your child need special ed in 2021 when Frederick Douglass didn't need it in 1831? How is it our ancestors running from dogs and slave catchers could learn how to read on the run? And your son or daughter need a whole bunch of extra help. I'm gonna tell you why they can't read. It starts with your house. If I go to most of your homes sitting here right now, I promise at least half of you do not have a dictionary. I promise at least half of you there's no thesaurus. I promise at least half of you there's no complete set of encyclopedia A through Z. I promise half of you in here there's no bookshelf. I promise half of you parents in here, there's no quiet hour at all, ever in your house. Go ahead, we're going to talk about white supremacy, but we're going to talk about Negro complicity. Because guess what, man? Guess what, mother, father, big brother, sister, auntie, grandmama? White supremacy could not work without the participation. See, let me explain something. Every Black child in Miami in special ed right now, every Black child in Miami in special ed right now is in that special ed class because their mother or father signed your name 4 times. I know this, because as a school psychologist and a principal, I know the way the law works. And special ed is a federal law, so it don't matter if you live in Florida, it don't matter if you in Texas, it don't matter if you in Boston or Brooklyn, it's all the same. You have to sign permission for me, the school psychologist, to test your child. And then when I'm done with the evaluation, you gotta sign permission that you agree with it. And then you have to sign the IEP, Incarceration Education Program. And then the final signature, the 4th one, is the Special Ed Service Agreement. If you don't sign a Special Ed Service Agreement, we cannot take your child out of that class and put them somewhere else. 4 black parent signatures. Sentence your child for that miseducation. And you know what's so sad, parents? All you needed to do was get that baby some tutor. All your son and daughter needed was a tutor twice a week for 90 minutes. If one of my 2 daughters had a reading problem, you think I'm putting them in special ed? Hell no, I'm going to get a tutor. And you ain't got to be rich to get a tutor. You got black churches all through Miami, in the community. Teachers in there, go get a tutor. You can get a high school student to tutor your child. You can get a college student to tutor your child. You can get a retired teacher to tutor your child. Tutors are everywhere in the hood, but the white man made you think that there's something special about special education. So my question to all of you with children in special ed, and those of you contemplating putting your children in special ed, can somebody tell me, I'm the one putting the kids in, can somebody tell me what exactly is so special about special education? See, let me demystify the special ed process. Because when you sign that first paper, permission to evaluate, the psychologist gets your child and brings them to the office, right? So Dr.Umar is a psychologist, I come and get your child, I bring them to the office. What do I do in my office with your child? I give them an intelligence test, I give them an achievement test, I give them a visual motor test, I give them an emotional scale, I give them a behavioral scale. I observe him in the class, I review his records, I interview his parents, I interview his teacher. That's it, that's the eval. None of these tests gives me a diagnosis. These tests only give me numbers, scores. I want y'all to understand this. When somebody says your son has a reading disability, did they get it from a test? No. When somebody says your daughter has a math disability, did they get it from a test? No. When somebody says your son has ADHD, did they get it from a test? No. Your son is autistic. Did they get it from a test? No. So where does the label come from? It comes from you. It comes from us. What is the point you're making, Dr. Umar? The point that I'm making is none of the labels we give your children in the world of special ed are scientific. I'm going to say it again in a way that you can understand me real simply, black people. The learning disability is somebody's opinion about your child. It's not a fact. ADHD is somebody's opinion about your child. It is not a fact. The intellectual disability is somebody's hypothesis. It is not a fact. You don't believe it? Prove to me your child got a reading disability. Prove it. Prove to me your daughter got a math disability. Prove it. Prove to me your boy has ADHD. Can you prove it? Can you show me where the reading disability is inside your son's brain? Is it in the front of the brain? Is the reading disability in the back of the brain? Is the ADHD on the left side or the right side? Is the math disability near the third eye or the hippocampus? Can you isolate it? Is there a blood test for the reading disability? Is there a CAT scan for the intellectual disability? Is there a urine sample for the emotional disturbance? Is there an X-ray or an MRI that can show us where the reading disability is? Hell no! It's a white man's children. And nobody you know can prove me wrong. If you don't believe me, go to your child's school tomorrow and say, can you prove to me that my child has a reading disability? They will pull out a psychological evaluation that has all the tests I just went over. And then you're going to say, these are only scores. How did you take these scores and come to the conclusion that he cannot learn how to read without special help? And you know why they're so quick? You know why they're so quick to put them in special ed? Because the school wants that money. Special ed is a business. Special ed is a hustle. Special ed is a racket of making money off black kids. You know, you never thought how to read in the first place. Which is why I always say, if I was in charge of reading in Miami, there would be an extra disability. Right next to the SLD, specific learning disability. Right next to the SLD, specific learning disability, I would add a label called AD, 2.8 skills. He ain't never been the hell taught in the first place. Are y'all following me? See, some of you parents, y'all walk into the meeting with these white folks and coons. And your brain's not working. I need you to start using common sense. If your son is in the 4th grade in Miami, or Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, West Palm, and they telling you want to test your 5th grader because we think he has a reading disability. First thing out of your mouth is, can you help me explain that within the context of the fact that last year my son got suspended 3 days out of every week. He wasn't allowed to learn nothing. And then in 3rd grade, my son's teacher went out on maternity leave in January. He had 15 substitutes from January to May. What about the year before that? My son had a 1st-year teacher straight out of We Hate Black People Teachers College. And she can barely read a damn sentence. So what I'm saying, Florida, is use your common sense. Black mother, I need you to understand something. Black father, I need you to understand something. You are always the expert on your child. Stop relinquishing psychological authority to teachers and principals and deans of students and school nurses and school counselors and school social workers and school psychologists and math specialists and reading specialists. Because although they may be expert in that field, you're the only person in the meeting expert on your child. Right? Right. When it don't feel right, it ain't right. See, let me tell you 2 little rules. Rule 1, they can't make you put your child in special ed, so they can force you to keep them in after he's in. Rule number 2, they can't make you put your child on brain drugs, but they can force you to keep your child on brain drugs once they're on. My point I'm making today, you better remember this, it's easier to keep your child out from the beginning. Because once they get in that system, it can get real tricky. See, I've been telling y'all for years, stop getting your kids evaluated for ADHD, which ain't nothing but ain't no daddy at home disorder. And why do I call ADHD ain't no daddy at home? Because more than 70% of black boys diagnosed with ADHD don't have a father in their life. Is this really a neurological problem? Is this really an issue of brain chemistry? Or is this just some good old-fashioned racism declaring war on black men, leaving the fathers, leaving the mothers at home to raise the boys alone? Everybody knows the father's job is to be listening. Everybody knows the mother's job is to provide the emotional support. When you take the father out